Hello बच्चों, this is the 11th lecture of electrostatics, and in this lecture we are going to solve rest of the numericals of NCERT. Question 1.27. In a certain region of space, electric field is along the z direction throughout. The magnitude of electric field is however not constant but increases uniformly along the positive z direction at the rate of 10 to the power 5 Newton per Coulomb per meter. What are the force and torque experienced by a system having a total dipole moment equal to 10 to the power minus 7 Coulomb meter in the negative z direction? In this question, it is given that there is an electric field along z direction and the magnitude of electric field is increasing at the rate of 10 to the power 5 Newton per Coulomb per meter. That is, the electric field is not constant throughout the z-axis. So it is given here also that a dipole of dipole moment 10 to the power minus 7 Coulomb meter is there on the z-axis as shown in figure, and the direction of that dipole moment is opposite to the direction of electric field, that is along negative z direction. We have to calculate the force and torque experienced by the dipole in that electric field. For solution of this question, let us consider a dipole of length dz, and at the plus q charge of the dipole the electric field is E, and at minus q charge the electric field has been increased and it becomes E plus dE, and the rate of change of electric field with distance is dE by dz as shown in figure. It is given in the question dE by dz is equal to 10 to the power 5 Newton per Coulomb per meter, and dipole moment is equal to 10 to the power minus 7 Coulomb meter. So to find out the net force due to dipole, we will separately write the value of force on plus q charge and minus q charge. So firstly, force on first plus q charge is equal to q into E, and that on minus q charge is equal to minus q into E plus dE, which is the electric field at minus q. So the total force can be written as F is equal to F plus Q plus F minus Q. By putting the values of F plus Q and F minus Q, we get force is equal to minus Q into dE. Multiplying the equation and also dividing by dz, we get F is equal to minus Q dE into dz by dz. Rearranging the equation, we get F is equal to minus Q dE by dz into dz. Here Q into dz is the electric dipole moment of the dipole in figure. So F is equal to minus P into dE by dz. By putting the value of P and dE by dz in this equation, we get force on the electric dipole is equal to minus 10 to the power minus 2 Newton. In the last equation, the negative sign is showing the direction of force, which is opposite to the electric field as shown in figure. Therefore, we can write the vector F is equal to 10 to the power minus 2 minus k cap. Minus k cap is the unit vector along minus z axis. To calculate torque, we will use the formula tau is equal to Pe sin theta. Here the direction of P and E are opposite to each other, so that the angle between them is 180 degree. Therefore sin 180 degree becomes 0, and hence torque is also 0. The next question is 1.28. A conductor A with a cavity as shown in figure is given a charge Q show that the entire charge must appear on the outer surface of the conductor. Another conductor B with charge small q is inserted into the cavity, keeping B insulated from A. Show that the total charge on the outside surface of A is q plus small q. C. A sensitive instrument is to be shielded from the strong electrostatic field in its environment. Suggest a possible way. In this equation, it is given that there is a conductor and a cavity on the surface of the conductor also, and a charge plus q is given to that. So it is asking in part 1 that the entire charge given to the conductor should be appear on the outer surface of the conductor, not throughout its volume. And in second part, it is given that another conductor having small q charge inserted in the cavity, and the inserted conductor is insulated from A, and we have to show that the total charge on the outer surface of the conductor A is capital Q plus small q. In part C, it is asking that suggest a possible way to shield or to protect an sensitive instrument from strong electrostatic field. For solution, as we know that the electric field inside a conductor is equal to 0, so let us draw a Gaussian surface lying just inside the conductor enclosing the cavity. Now using Gauss law, we can write flux phi is equal to closed integral over surface of E dot dA is equal to Q by epsilon naught. Since the electric field inside the conductor is equal to 0, so from this equation we can write Q enclosed through the Gaussian surface is equal to 0. Therefore, there is no charge inside the conductor and all the charge will appear on the outer surface of the conductor. Part B, due to insertion of the conductor B in the cavity having charge plus q, that is the conductor B has charge plus q, a minus q charge will induced on the surface of the cavity, and due to that minus q charge, a plus q charge will induced on the surface of conductor A. Therefore, the total charge on the outer surface will become capital Q plus small q, because it was given in the question that a plus q charge is on the surface of the conductor, and due to induction another plus small q charge is induced on the surface, so net charge will be sum of the two. Next is C, part C. As we know that electrostatic field inside the conductor is equal to 0, therefore we should put the sensitive instrument inside a metallic cover to shield it from the strong electrostatic field. Question number 1.29. A hollow charged conductor has a tiny hole cut into its surface. Show that the electric field in the hole is sigma by 2 epsilon naught n cap, where n cap is the unit vector in the outward normal direction and sigma is the surface charge density near the hole. For solution, we know that inside the conductor the electric field is 0, and also the uniformly charged flat surface provide an electric field of sigma by 2 epsilon naught normal to its plane, and we can say that direction should be n cap. So The situation is shown in figure, and we also have derived the formula of electric field intensity near a plane charge sheet, which we have got that sigma by 2 epsilon naught. Now let us consider a flat part AB on the surface of the conductor. So we can say that there are two parts of the conductor. First is AB and second is the rest part of the conductor. Consider a point P just below the surface of the conductor inside the conductor. So we can write the electric field at point P due to flat surface AB and due to rest of the part of the conductor as sigma by 2 epsilon naught for both, but the direction will be opposite because we know that the electric field intensity inside the conductor is 0. So these two will nullify each other. If we remove the flat portion AB from the conductor, the only electric field at point P will be through the rest part of the conductor, and the direction will be outwards of magnitude sigma by 2 epsilon naught. So this is the required electric field in the tiny hole on the surface of the conductor, which is sigma by 2 epsilon naught n cap. Here n cap is showing the direction of the electric field perpendicular to the surface and outward. Question 1.30. Obtain the formula for electric field intensity due to a long thin wire of uniform linear charge density lambda without using Gauss law. Hint: use Coulomb's law directly and evaluate the necessary integral. In this question, we have to obtain the expression of electric field intensity near the charged wire of uniform linear charge density lambda, and we don't have to use the Gauss law here, but we can use Coulomb's law as hint is given in the question. So in the solution, let us consider a long thin wire xy having linear charge density lambda. P is the point at which we have to find out the electric field intensity. Dx is a small length element at O, and x is the distance between C and O. R is the distance between CP. Theta is the angle OPC. dE is the electric field due to small element dx on the wire, and Q is charge on xy. We know that Q is equal to lambda into dx, which is the charge on linear small element dx. Electric field intensity due to dx at P can be written by using Coulomb's law, which is dE is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q by OP square. Here, by putting the value of Q and OP in the equation, we get dE is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught lambda dx upon R square plus x square. We can obtain the value of OP from Pythagoras theorem in triangle POC. In this expression number 1, we have to remove all the variables which we have considered, like x and theta. So we will substitute the value of x in this equation using the figure. So in triangle COP, tan theta is equal to x by r, x is equal to r tan theta. And differentiating this equation with respect to theta to obtain the value of dx, we get dx by d theta is equal to r sec square theta. Here the differentiation of tan theta is sec square theta. or we can write dx is equal to r sec square theta d theta, which is equation number 2. Also we can write r square plus x square is equal to r square plus r square tan square theta by putting the value of x is equal to r tan theta. We get r square plus x square is equal to r square sec square theta. Let it is equation number 3. Putting the value of dx and r square plus x square from equation 2 and 3 in equation 1, we get dE is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught lambda by r d theta, question number 4. Since there will be two components of dE, cos component and sine component, all the sine components of left side of C will cancel out the sine components on the right side of C. Therefore, the component of dE which will left and give the net electric field intensity P is dE cos theta. So we can obtain the net electric field due to uniformly charged thin wire XY by integrating dE cos theta from the limits of theta minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. Here the limits minus pi by 2 and plus pi by 2 is taken as we can see in the figure. When theta will increase, that is, we will take the dx at the extreme end of the wire. Since it is of infinite length, so theta can have the maximum value pi by 2 or 90 degree, and on the both side of point C. So taking C as reference point, we can say theta on left side of C will have the value minus pi by 2 or minus 90 degree, and theta on right side of C have the value plus pi by 2 or plus 90 degree. Hence, the electric field intensity at point P due to the uniformly charged thin wire XY is given by E is equal to integral dE cos theta from limit minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2. By putting the value of dE from previous equation, equation number 4, we can write E is equal to integral minus pi by 2 to plus pi by 2 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught lambda by r cos theta d theta. Since 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught lambda by r is constant for the wire, so it will not be integrated here, so it will be out of integration, and the integration of cos theta will occur with respect to d theta. By integrating cos theta, we get 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught lambda by r sine theta, since the integration of cos theta is sine theta. By putting the lower limit and upper limit, we get E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught lambda by r sine pi by 2, which is upper limit, and minus sine minus pi by 2, which is lower limit. So E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught lambda by r sine pi by 2 plus sine pi by 2, because sine minus theta is equal to minus sine theta. So minus minus will become plus here. And the value of sine pi by 2, that is sine 90 degree, is equal to 1. Therefore, we get the electric field intensity E is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught lambda by r into 2. And final expression after solving this, we get E is equal to 1 by 2 pi epsilon naught lambda by r. This is the required electric field intensity at a point near the uniformly charged thin wire of infinite length. Question number 1.31. It is now believed that protons and neutrons, which constitute nuclei of ordinary matter, are themselves built out of more elementary units called quarks. A proton and a neutron consist of 3 quarks each. Or two types of quarks, the so-called up quark denoted by U of charge plus 2 by 3e and the down quark denoted by D of charge minus 1 by 3e, together with electrons build up ordinary matter. Quarks of other types have also been found, which give rise to different unusual varieties of matter, suggest a possible quark composition of a proton and a neutron. Here in the question it is given that protons and neutrons are built out of more elementary units called quarks, and the two quarks are given here, up quark and down quark. Up quark is denoted by U having charge plus 2 by 3e and down quark denoted by D having charge minus 1 by 3e. It is asking for that the possible quark composition of a proton and a neutron, and also given that 3 quarks build up a proton and a neutron, not more than 3. So we have to find out the number of up quarks and down quarks to compose a proton and a neutron. In the solution it is given that the charge on up quark is equal to plus 2 by 3e and the charge on down quark is minus 1 by 3e. So proton and neutron consist of 3 quarks each as per question. Therefore, for part 1, let the number of quarks in proton, up quarks, is n1, which is equal to n, and therefore the number of down quarks in proton becomes 3 minus n, since there can be 3 quarks in a proton. Using quantization of charge, we can write n1 charge on up quark plus n2 into charge on down quark is equal to n into charge on proton. By putting all the value and solving, we get n is equal to 2 or n1 is equal to 2. So the number of up quarks in a proton is equal to 2. By putting the value of n1 in equation number 1, we get n2 is equal to 1, and hence the number of down quark in a proton is equal to 1. So the possible configuration of proton is UUD. Similarly, we can find the configuration of neutron also, which will obtain UDD. This was the last numerical of this chapter, and as a homework you have to learn all the topics and practice for numericals, also all the derivations for the test, which I am going to take on Monday. Thank you.